Hello, I'm ibx2cat and welcome back to my second channel video. Did you know that most people around the world live in some form of a democracy? This means that the governance of these people is decided by big elections that happen every so often, and maybe you've heard about these elections. Maybe you like to follow them because you're curious about who will be in charge and you like it from a political standpoint. No, politics, if you don't live in the country, to me is a sport. There is a blue team, there is a red team. Wasn't it exciting to follow to see, ooh, were the blue team going to win? Or was it going to be the red team going to be the returning champions? Is it going to be the underdogs or the overdogs? It was going to be a big thing and I was very excited. However, 2020's gone. There's no more big sports elections to follow, except maybe there is. Did you know every year lots of elections happen in lots of countries, and some of those elections are very consequential, like the ones I'll be talking about, which mostly take place in Europe sometime in 2021. The entire future of nations is going to be determined by some of these elections, as well as the future of multinational blocks. It's very exciting. Let's talk about some 2021 elections, starting with, of course, Scotland. So Scotland is a constituent country of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And so obviously they have UK-wide elections, but also ever since the 1998 Scotland Act, they've had their own devolved parliament where they can work on devolved issues. Basically, if you're American, think about it like a state government. Lots of competencies are devolved specifically to the Scottish to vote on and decide for themselves. They have their own Scottish parliament, and that Scottish parliament is having their election this year in May. And that is really interesting for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is because of this party, the SNP, the Scottish National Party, the people who are very in favour of Scotland being an independent nation. And this is an interesting idea because obviously right now, a lot of people might even internationally think like, oh, it's not already its own nation. And that's kind of made complicated by the fact that the UK, which is the country, the subdivision of the UK, which is a country, are called countries. So England, Wales, and Scotland are countries, all within a country. But like country in that sense means something very different to country in the sense of the UK. It gets confusing, and even people living in... Everyone I speak to that lives here doesn't really understand it. They just go along with it. You don't know when a website form asks you for what country you live in. No one knows what to say. However, people in Scotland do know what to say, and that's that Scotland is its own country. Because in the Scottish National Party have been very, very dominant for a while. Part of the reason why, in fact, it's actually gone back since, because when the Parliament was first started, the devolved Parliament, it kind of followed the nationwide election results. Like, oh yeah, the Red Party is in charge, and like, oh yeah, so the blue parties and the yellow parties have something. But the SNP grew and grew and grew pretty much every election, as you can see right here, besides 2003, where only the Conservatives gained. Man, look at this Scottish Conservative leader. What a weird looking woman. No offense, Annabelle Golding, I'm sure you're lovely. Actually, you know, am I sure you're lovely? But with that said, you can see that, like, oh yeah, and then in 2011, something even crazier happened. The SNP not only got the largest number of seats, but they got enough seats to have a majority by themselves. The whole system was set up so to avoid any party having an overall majority. It's a very proportional voting system, and that's what makes this so interesting. So as a result of that, and as a result of the current Conservative government, they figured they would set to rest the whole Scottish independence issue by having a referendum. In 2014,
if it's a no vote by a whisker, again, is that it? Do you come back for another referendum in a few years' time? I mean, you've talked in the past about it being for a generation. Is that still your view?
Yes, it is.
Would there be another referendum in our lifetimes, or we've always said it's a once in a generation. The SNP have always said that in our view these kind of referendums are once in a generation events.
Once in a generation opportunity. Once in a generation opportunity.
This is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Take this once in a generation, once in a lifetime opportunity.
Once in a lifetime opportunity.
A once in a generation thing. Once in a lifetime opportunity.
Right. These kind of referendums are once in a generation events.
Politicians have to respect the democratic wishes of Scotland.
Would there be another referendum?
The people of Scotland have spoken.
We have chosen unity over division and positive change rather than needless separation.
Scottish voters have rejected independence, deciding to remain part of the United Kingdom. It was a historic referendum that shook the country to its core. While most polls indicated a tighter result, Scots voted 55% to 45% against independence. Alex Salmond thanks Scotland for 1.6 million votes and accepted defeat graciously.
Scotland has, by majority, decided not at this stage to become an independent country. I accept that verdict of the people, and I call on all of Scotland to follow suit in accepting the democratic verdict of the people of Scotland.
He went on to say that 86% turnout is one of the highest in the democratic world for any election or referendum in history.
I'm proud Scot, I'm proud to be British, I want to be part of the UK. Do you all believe it now?
I'm happy that in the morning I'm going to wake up Scottish and I'm going to wake up British. I'm just so happy.
Salmond said that the Unionist parties had vowed late in the campaign to devolve more powers to Scotland, something they expect to be honoured in rapid course.
Scotland had a vote. Should they remain a part of the United Kingdom, or should they go their own way, be their own independent nation? And as you can see, most of the country voted no. It was, again, if you look at there's a lot of results. We're using Wikipedia pages because they're nice, solid pieces of information that no one's going to be like, oh, that's actually really biased. That's fake information. No, 55% of people voted to stay in the UK. 44% of people voted to leave the UK. And as you can see, looking at this, it was mostly the cities which voted to leave the UK, and mostly the countryside and the islands and stuff like that voted to stay there. Basically, the kind of conservative liberal split that you expect from any major country around the world. People in cities vote slightly differently to people outside of cities. Isn't that interesting? So with that said, the reason that this got so interesting is because you'd figure, like in a lot of other countries, the referendum would set things for bed forever. However, there's a lot of interesting quirks to this. The biggest one, the biggest one people bring up is that, like, oh yeah, one of the reasons they said you should stay in the UK is because you'd lose the EU membership otherwise, and obviously something Brexit.